What's up? This is 2003 JL's time for another action movie review. Today I'm going to talk about The Legend of Zhu, also known as Zoo Warriors. It's distributed by Miramax. It was produced and directed by Hark, and it was also written by Hark, and it was co-written by Choi Lee. It stars Ekin Cheng, Sammo Hong, Cecilia Zhang, and Louis Koo, Patrick Tam, Zhang Ziyi, and Jackie Wu. The film was originally released on August 9, 2001 in Hong Kong, and it goes a little something like this. Zhu is a mystical mountain range in ancient China which exists between heaven and earth. It's populated by mortals who belong to the Omei clan, who are one of the many clans that practice martial arts on this mythical mountain. And it's as such, if you know, it being the way it is, of course they practice like they have magic powers, they fly, they have mystical weapons and things like that. And Ekin Cheng's character King Sky and Cecilia Chung's character are both belong to the Kunlun clan, or the Kunlun mountain, I guess. And she dies, but she gets reincarnated later in the film, which is also confusing. But pretty much the gist of it, these warriors on Zoo Mountain, they have to battle this thing called insomnia, which is this giant, evil, powerful spiritual force that threatens to destroy them and to take over the world, and they have to fight it. That's pretty much the gist of the film, of what I did understand. There are many great things about this film. Again, it has as I have told you, it has an all-star cast. It's directed by a legendary director, and he co-wrote the film. It has some action choreography by Yuen Wu Ping. He seems to do choreography for everybody. And, the special effects are off the chain. It has some of the best special effects I've seen for pretty much any film, especially for a film of this type. Particularly what interests me was the look of the weapons that they use. That they say, like the Zoo Warriors, they have these mystical swords. At the beginning, they look like regular swords, but once the sword changes, it's spiritually customized for the warrior that wields the sword. Except for Zhang Ziyi's character, who's a general's daughter, she wants to become a Zoo Warrior after she sees them fight. And now she tries to travel to the mountain and try to practice martial arts there, but to be accepted you have to have your own sword. So you have to go to this other mountain and pull a sword out of the stone, and then at which point you have to somehow the sword has to form itself from your spirit, and then you can train there. And pretty much that could have been turned into a major subplot in the movie, which brings me to another thing. Now, it has a great cast. It has great action scenes, special effects, character design. The costumes were great. The music was great. There is one problem: the plot. The plot is very, very, I don't want to say it's thin, because it has a good plot, but it can be very confusing. If you watch, now I've noticed, I'm not ragging on Hark, but some of his stuff, like Seven Swords for example, it can get pretty confusing really fast if you don't really sit down and pay attention to what's going on. You can get lost really fast. Oftentimes there are certain changes and things that go on in the story, and they're not really declared or announced. You're supposed to intuitively somehow decipher what exactly is going on. For example, Cecilia Chung's character, at first she plays King Sky's master, but she gets vaporized. All of a sudden, you see her fighting this monster, and she's not the same person. Just later on, they reveal that she was reincarnated. Almost nonchalantly revealed that she was reincarnated, which is something else I want to get to a point to. There's many major plot points here, but it's not really acted out, or is not allowed to act out. For the most part, it looked like most of the direction was just concentrated on the action and the special effects, but not the story or the dialogue. Most of the dialogue, is for one thing, it's confusing. Another thing, it's not like the actors. They're not. Nobody's really given that many lines in this movie, unfortunately, which is a shame. I don't see how. Like Zhang Ziyi's character, she's the normal person in the group. She doesn't really have any powers, except it is hinted at towards the end that she will one day. But outside of that, it's not really. Her character could have played a very big role. At least her story could have been elaborated on a little bit better, and kind of be like a cipher for the audience as to be introduced to this mythical world. But it didn't turn out like that. I don't see how we were supposed to follow the story when it's very hard to do so and you don't know what's really going on. A lot of things in a plot change all of a sudden, and it's not really explained to you. It's just like, bam, there it is. Which is unfortunate. It's like that. That's the only thing I have against the movie. Outside of that, everything else was pretty much great. Like I said, the action scenes were great. I mean, it's for the most part, if you sit down and watch this movie, and then you go away from it, you'll think about, wow, it looked good, but I don't know what the hell happened. That's the feeling I got. I got that feeling so bad. I had to watch it again to make sure I didn't feel like that. I didn't want to be too anal and just, or anything like that. I didn't want to feel stupid or anything, but I watched it again. I was like, yeah, I didn't understand. I really didn't. Now, if you're wondering, this is actually, to some degree, a remake of an earlier film Tsui Hark did back in 1983 called Zoo Warriors from the Magic Mountain. The plot was very similar to this. As a matter of fact, Legend of Zoo, also called Zoo Warriors, is pretty much a adaptation of the original concepts of what he wanted to introduce in Zoo Warriors from the Magic Mountain. In Zoo Warriors from the Magic Mountain, it had Bridget Lin in Cecilia Cheung's role. It also starred Yun Biao, and as a matter of fact, Sammo Hung, I believe, was in the original also. Now, the original is considered a classic because Tsui Hark, known as the special effects guy, he brought in Hollywood people to work on the first one to bring in the special effects. It was groundbreaking in that sense, but overall, as a wuxia film, it was excellent, pretty much. Koryan did the action choreography in the original also. For the most part, Legend of Zoo Warriors, for the most part, I highly recommend. Like I said before, I don't give ratings, and I don't want to say it's bad, but there's not really a story there. I recommend that you at least rent it and watch it. If you want to buy it and add it to the collection of Tsui Hark movies, you can. Between this and Seven Swords, I prefer Seven Swords, but this had better action. In my mind, it had better action. But for the most part, if you don't sit down and pay attention, you will get lost very quickly. Pretty much the movie moves along without you, which is pretty much unfortunate. But hey. Well, that's all I got for y'all today.